assault. Now that he has given that answer, do you view this as a closed issue, or what is your response?
Well, it is for me. I have said I am proud to support Joe Biden for president. I believe him when he says it didn't happen. But I also believe him when he said, let them look into the records. And that's what they should do. But I'm not going to answer this question again. I will just say I have every confidence that Joe Biden will be a great president of the United States, not only because of the person of integrity that he is, but the person of vision that he is for just some of the things you talked about health care for all Americans, about job security, about the kitchen table issues that he's so familiar with in his own family when his father lost his own job. Joe Biden is Joe. And again, he brings those values and his personal experience to a vision for America that is about fairness and not trickle-down economics, but bubble up from that kitchen table from working families in our country. And now we hope to have in this bill a reflection of that meeting the needs of everyone in our country and not trickle down or have science and research in science that's dominated anything other than by the best possible science. And I salute our scientists.
That's Nancy Pelosi talking about how awesome Joe Biden is and that she doesn't necessarily believe Tara Reid. She believes Joe. Again, flagrant liar, proven habitual liar. Joe Biden, who had to drop out of the campaign because of lying, saying that he was somehow part of the civil rights movement. He was not. And what makes that lie particularly special is because Joe Biden recycled that lie for this time and nobody even called him on that particular lie, except for me. But nobody was looking at me when I was calling him on that lie. And I am very angry about that. You have no idea, because I consider the civil rights movement to be somewhat sacred, and the fact that he'd use it for pure political expedience and that nobody would have been the avatar or my voice in order to call that out bothers me that much more. And yeah, plagiarizing speeches and lying about his education experience. He has a proven track record of lying. Even in this election, he did not go see Mandela. He did not get a thank you from Mandela. He was trying to cut Social Security. He was a proponent for the Iraq War, that Iraq War vote. He was a proponent of the crime bill, not, as he was saying, this kind of innocent bystander as he was trying to make it out. And the thing, Joe Biden is a flagrant liar. So, but whatever. All of these people believe Joe Biden, including Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, at this very specific moment, Democrats always like to talk like lefties when it's time for an election. They're trying to get in office and they're trying to go against Republicans. The reality is the last Democratic president that was in office, right here, 95% of the income gains to the top 1%. That's the Democrat. Trump could only beat him by 5%. I don't even know how you do that if you tried. And yet, efficient manager Obama was able to give his people, his class, a ton of money. Now they're asking the VP to come into office, and Nancy Pelosi is trying to convince you that that VP is going to do something fundamentally different than the last guy did. I don't buy it. I think a lot of people don't buy it. But whether they buy it or not, they're more concerned with taking Trump out of office, and they believe that the guy who is effectively the same as Hillary Clinton, same as John Kerry, and same as Al Gore is going to be the guy to take Trump out of office. I am also somewhat skeptical of that. Nevertheless, what we're talking about today has to do with Pelosi, and basically the way Democrats have been so out of touch and yet can always find time to give money to their cronies of their particular class. Right now, that PPP package, the Paycheck Protection Package, Nancy Pelosi is allowing lobbyists to basically influence her to change the rulings on that in the next stimulus package, whenever that comes out, to basically allow them to also get money from that package. Let me repeat that. Nancy Pelosi is changing the rules on the Paycheck Protection Package, a package that was supposed to be used for small businesses, where other bigger companies have been basically raping that package. Nancy Pelosi is now ripping the dress that much more to allow lobbyists that in no way deserve any funding from that is paid and built by big corporations. If those corporations want to keep those lobbyists in power, so be it. But it should not be on our dime. But Nancy Pelosi doesn't agree with that. $100 million in the bank, Nancy Pelosi wants to give lobbyists business money or money that was supposed to be going to our small businesses. Welcome to the soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support. PayPal, Patreon. So I'm just going to read this. Many of the largest lobbying forces are organized under the 501c6 section of the tax code as trade groups. Corporations with similar concerns pool their money together to fund trade groups, which in turn employ thousands of lobbyists to shape the election and legislation on a daily basis. But the Paycheck Protection Program, the centerpiece of the Small Business Rescue Package, excludes such trade groups. That could change in the next round of stimulus legislation when Congress is scheduled to debate this next month. Now, lobbyists have stepped up in order to get $25 billion for canceled events and other lost revenue from the coronavirus pandemic. Senior lawmakers and Nancy Pelosi, who've basically been running this almost on her own because they've been dispersed, is for this and basically is going to do this. Now, basically, in a webinar, Nancy Pelosi, I'll just read it. This is, at this point, Common Dreams. The other one was The Intercept. During a webinar in Small Business Representation on Tuesday, Pelosi said that the next coronavirus relief package will include a change to the Paycheck Protection Program that would permit 501c6 organizations to receive forgivable taxpayer loans. Many of the largest lobbying forces are organized under 501c6 section of the tax code and trade groups. The Li Fang reported Wednesday, lobbyists have stepped up the campaign to make sure professional influence peddlers are eligible for the PPP. The push also includes a demand for an additional $25 billion for canceled events and other lost revenue from the coronavirus pandemic. Senior lawmakers, including Nancy Pelosi, plan to accommodate the demand for change to eligibility standards so that small business bailout money can now flow to advocacy groups, basically lobbyists. It's also nice to note that the National Restaurant Association is the reason, this is Li Fang, there's been no raise in federal minimum wage, no paid sick leave law. Because basically these guys are lobbying on behalf of those corporations. And those corporations are going to do things that is in the interest of those corporations. It would be weird for those corporations to pool millions of dollars together only to work for the benefit of the employees and the public. It doesn't work that way. That money, if it's going to be used, is going to get a return. And that return is stopping certain legislation, stopping certain laws being passed, rejecting certain things from even coming into the political discourse. And these guys, after fucking over the public, it's just the job, are now coming to the public, hand in hand, we need cash. And the Democratic Party is saying, okay, Nancy Pelosi is giving them that cash. Now,